Everyone, it's Kristen. So we just talked about issue 34, but in between 34 and this next issue 35, Dazzler the movie happened, and this is how and when she was revealed to the world as a mutant. And so now, and if you're interested in that, I have those videos up on my channel, and I put them in the description of issue 34. It's a really good read about her, rise to fame and then her kind of all it all kind of comes crashing down. So, um and like this obviously is like roller derby. It's the shining superstar versus the Francine Ramjets, and our money's on the Dazzler. So it's like I said, it's a fun cover. Roller skating, still pretty popular than roller derbies, that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, so like I said, she is revealed to the world as a mutant. So she goes, back to her apartment and she's like, I miss this place, even though it's super humble. But I mean, at least, and she basically goes through a recap of what happened in Dazzler, the movie, which I won't go back over that because you should really you should really watch those videos or read it because it's a really good read. It's really interesting. So she hears noises and it's the couple she rented her apartment from. And they're like, we want you out. Because remember I said the only thing that they didn't want there, they didn't mind Hollywood, types trying to make it big. They didn't want mutants though. So they're like, we want you out. And he had a bat and she disintegrated it. And she's like, fine, I'll leave. If that's what you want, that's fine. And the wife actually, she does feel bad. She's like, we feel bad about this and we're really sorry. And Dazzler's like, no hard feelings. And the guy's like, you've been a good tenant. It's just, what you are. You're immune. We can't have you here. And then he basically, the wife gives a speech about, um, seems to me that's what a body does, decides what they are, Paul. I mean, what you start out as and what you amount to can be two different things. She may be one of those awful mutants, but well, I once knew a man who was a Democrat who later reformed. Oh, that's funny. Oh, goodness. I mean, you have to admit that's kind of funny. Like, or you can insert Republican there if you want. In either way, it's funny comparing a dangerous monster mutant to either a Democrat or Republican. In this time, in this comic, they call him a Democrat. But anyway, that's funny. Okay, so the guy says, "Okay, Miss Blair, you can stay, but only if the rent is paid by Friday. It's already 2 weeks overdue." She's like, "Okay, got it." And so she needs a job because the rent is 2 weeks overdue and it's 67.50. She's short 67.50 on the rent. So she didn't say exactly how much the rent is, but 67.50 in today's world is like $475, around that. So, that doesn't tell us exactly how much the rent is, but that's just how much she's short. So, because there's no way in the world that, well, especially nowadays, that an apartment in California, in LA, even for like a one bedroom, one bath, with the little kitchen, living room, would be like $475. There's no way. Because I know California is one of the most expensive states to live in. especially those areas that are like super populated. So anyway, we don't know how much it is, but it's definitely more than that, I would assume. So Dazzler gets ready, and now, of course, like I said, um, this is after Dazzler the movie, so she's sporting short hair now. So she goes out to try to find a job, and basically everyone rejects her because they recognize her and know she's a mutant. And they're like, well, no, we can't have mutants working here. Like, get lost, mutie. We're looking for human help. I know who you are and what you are. Be gone. I've got enough trouble without you on the payroll. Lady, I want no part of your kind. The position was just filled, all kinds of excuses or all kinds of, things that they're saying. And this guy, he gets really heated. Like he grabs a crowbar just because he recognizes who she is and just because she's trying to, apply and get a job. And basically he's really like really mean to her, really rude to her. And he's saying stuff like, you call yourselves Homo superior. You think you're the next step up in evolution from us normal human beings. She says, no, we're just, because that, of course, is not all mutants. Not all mutants feel that way. That's like Magneto's philosophy for sure. But not all mutants feel that way. But of course, you know, at this point, a lot of people just see mutants as, bad people, as terrorists. So they're not looking at, oh, well, not every mutant's like that. They have like blinders on where it's just, they only see like the Magnetos of the world, so to speak, and their philosophies. And she's like, start running, mutie, because in 1 second, I'm going to split your head open. And she's like, wow, okay. And so she uses her powers on him because, I mean, like he's threatening her with a crowbar. But she doesn't, she just uses them to dazzle him, and she takes the crowbar and she burns up the crowbar to nothing. And she's like, if you want to treat me like a monster, maybe I should just become a monster. And she's like, you asked for it, and now you're gonna get it. And he's all whimpering like, don't hurt me. And she's like, you know what? You're lucky. You're not worth my time. So then she goes to this club and see that they have openings for help. And she's like, I don't know if I should bother. So, but she goes in and says, yeah, I'm here to apply for the job. And the lady there is like, okay, you're hired, basically. It's a women's only club. And Dazzler's like, really? I've never heard of anything like that. And she says, well, men have all these men only clubs. Why can't we have a club to ourselves? And she's like, okay, sure. And then this girl's like, are you looking for the dressing room? Were you just hired? And so they go into the dressing room. There's all the other girls getting ready. And I guess they don't have uniforms per se. They just, have to look good because you can see. Well, I guess they kind of have uniforms because the girl and her name, she calls herself, what does she call herself? Barb Spooner, alias Spoon Size, because she's actually um 5'1". That's how tall I am. So she's calling herself Spoon Size, and Allison is 5'8". So, oh yeah, like when she was modeling, like even 5'8" is considered short for a model. That's like the bare minimum of height that they will really accept for being a model. I mean, of course, nowadays there's like, okay, so my sister and I used to watch America's Next Top Model, even though looking back on it, it was kind of a terrible show because they, yelled at the girls. They made them change their whole appearance, in order to be a model. And I mean, granted, Tyra's like, oh, I'm just trying to help you. This is what I think would look best for and work best for your features, and I get that, but at the same time, it's kind of terrible too. But we didn't realize that at the time. Anyway, I remember one season she did like a petite model show, like where only petite girls could apply. Um, so everyone like 5'7" and under. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that the bare minimum that you need to be a model is like 5'8". Anyway, sorry, I digress. But yeah, so I guess they do kind of have a uniform because they both Spoon Size and Allison are kind of wearing very similar outfits, just different colors because they're waitresses. And so all these women are in there, talking, just talking shop talk and stuff. And then this group gets on the stage, Jan Jackson and the Steel Tuna. And I wonder if that's a nod to Janet Jackson, who I, well, her first album wasn't till like 86, and then her most famous one, I think Rhythm Nation, wasn't until 89. But she was still, I think she did music and released a music video in, I mean, 84, and that's when this came out. I'm not sure, but you know, issue we just had that issue where it was dedicated, the whole issue was dedicated to Michael Jackson's Thriller, so I feel like people knew who she was, so I wonder if that's kind of a nod to her having this singer be named Jan Jackson instead of Janet. And when I first read it, I thought it was Janet. I'm like, oh, Janet Jackson, that's cool. That's a nod to Janet Jackson. No, it's a Jan Jackson. But anyway, I feel like, yeah. So the racing ramjets come in, this roller derby team, and they're super rude and super mean. They like kick all these women off of this table that they were sitting at, claiming it's their table. And basically, like I said, they're just really rude because Allison's trying to listen to this singer sing, and she's like, "Oh, she's really good," and she gets their order wrong. And so this girl spits it out and then dumps it on Allison's head. And Spoon Size says, "Oh, Allison, go ahead and take another table. I'll take this table because I guess they come in here a lot, so she's kind of used to it." And makes a joke. They make a joke about her size, and she makes a joke. See, like I said, I'm 5'1". I'm the same size as her, same height. And I feel like not a ton of people joke with me about me being super short or anything or really small. So I don't know. Maybe that was more of a thing back then. Like I said, it's probably just a gag for this, comic to make the storyline move forward. Because, like I said, no one really teases me about my height. I mean, I'm 5'1". It's not like that uncommon, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's not like there are no girls that are 5'1" or under. There's plenty of them. So anyway, so she's like, I'll take this table. She jokes about her size with them. They're mean to her too. They trip her and they wrap up this towel and like, whip her on the butt with it, which is also not nice. And they're like, "What's your name again?" And she's like, "Oh, Spoon Size," just kind of playing it off and hoping, by her playing it off and just going along with the joke that they'll just kind of leave her alone and won't be so mean to her anymore. And they start booing the band and everything. They're like, "We want to hear something different, we want to hear um country. We want to I don't know, like these groups that I don't know." which I don't know if they're made up groups or if they're real groups. I did not look them up, I will be honest. So they're still being mean, and the group on stage is like, we might as well stop playing because nobody's listening anymore because that group over there is being super rowdy and super loud, so no one can even hear us. And so, Spoon Size tries to get Allison to take her break with her because, hoping that by, oh wait, that's not yet. Anyway, so the leader basically of the group, I guess, is being like, we beat the other team. This is one of the moves I used on them. So she picks up Spoon Size, puts her on the table, and Spoon Size is like, what are you gonna do to me? And Dazzler, she's like, hey, leave them alone. That's enough. Stop it. And they're like, oh, what are you gonna do? And so they throw Spoon Size at Dazzler, and they pick themselves off the floor and say, let's just go take our break. It's time for a break. Let's just go take our break. Just keep walking. And so the leader of the group lunges at them. I mean, if they do this all the time, like, I'm surprised that they're not banned from this establishment because they're being rude. They're disrupting the band. They're disrupting other people's experience. They're breaking a lot of stuff, like all the glasses, and I'm sure they've broken chairs, tables, all this stuff. And yet, they're still allowed in here. I don't know. So the person on the stage gets fed up and actually like jumps into this fight because she's fed up with them like disrupting her set. So she and the other ladies in this club are scared and they call the police and say there's a girl fight, at this club. You need to hurry. You need to come quick. And the police officer, who's male, says, a fight? At the girls' club? Give me a break. Sure, lady. Tell you what, we'll send on over 100-man SWAT team the minute it starts snowing in Death Valley. And the other guy's like, sheesh. Meaning they don't believe them, they don't think it's important, don't think it's relevant, whatever. They're like, how bad could a girl fight be? And here we have like a whole huge dog pile of women, of girls. And like I said, Dazzler is doing her best to like fight them off. And finally, they all go down and Dazzler's like, I quit. Like I'm not cut out for this job. I don't blame her. Oh, her name's Miss Beefer. And she's like, I'm just gonna take that generous tip you promised me. So takes out her wallet and takes this 67.50 that she needs in order to settle up her rent um, as her tip. Goodness, that's a lot of money. If you consider that's like, well, even like $67 for a tip is a lot of money. Well, I guess, okay. I guess I should say I don't go out to eat very much, and even if I do, I order, it's usually just me or one other person, and I always order like one of the least expensive things on the menu because, I just don't like to spend money if I don't have to. And I'll just have water, that sort of thing, just because that's just me. Like growing up, we never went out to eat, like never. Only for birthdays. That's the only time, like birthdays, special occasions, that's the only time we went out to eat. And we never got a drink because my, parents considered that wasteful, which I get. I totally understand. Because you're paying like $3 or $4, for a Coke when you could buy a Coke for like $1.50, dollar, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, um, I guess anyway, I've never tipped that much because I guess my bill's never been that much. I always tip at least 20% though, because my sister was a waitress and she'd be really upset some days because she didn't like people didn't tip her. Like she'd have a table and she'd be very attentive. She was a good waitress and she was always super friendly. Like everyone liked her. This couple, when she had her youngest, like her oldest daughter, when this couple actually, the guy made her a rocking horse, like made it for, you know, my niece when she was born. Like that's how much her customers like loved her, and because she had a lot of regulars. So anyway, she'd call me some days really upset because nobody, like people hadn't tipped her, or they tipped her, just $1 on like a 50 or $100 tab or something. Just, very upset. So because of her, I always tip 20% regardless you know, of the service, honestly. I mean, if they do a really good job, I usually tip them a little bit more, but usually always 20% because of my sister, because I just know how upset she was in not getting tipped when she should have gotten a tip. Anyway, so uh, all that to say is I've never had a bill high enough where I would had tipped 67.50 or even in today's money 400 something dollars. Okay, I've never spent 400 something dollars on any night out or any meal, or I know nor would I ever, because that seems like a whole lot of money. Like maybe if I win the lottery someday. Anyway, so she's like, I'm out. This is too much for me. I'm not, yeah, I can't do this, which I don't blame her. Like having people be rude to you, throw drinks at you, which I've had drinks thrown at me, like when I worked at Starbucks, because customers are crazy at Starbucks, or they can be, because they need their coffee. So anyway, and having like but I've never gotten physically punched or beaten up at my job, thankfully. I mean, I that's where I draw the line too, because the manager seemed to be like, I don't care. Because at no point during all this fighting did she come out and say, "Hey, everyone calm down," or "Hey, don't make me call the police," or "Hey, security." Like I said, since I feel like they're regulars at this place, then the manager doesn't care and just lets them, which I feel like that's bad business, but whatever. And so she says goodbye to Barb, and she's like, kind of like, you should quit too, but I'm leaving. So, and then we have the whole Beauty and the Beast miniseries. I did videos on that too. So I'll put those in. I'll put that in this just the description of this video in case you want to look at that. So anyway, like I said, a lot going on in Dazzler's life. Um, you know, her hair's now short. She's now a mutant, like been outed as a mutant to the world. Now she can't get a job. So we'll see what happens for her next. I mean, like where else can she go from here? Because I mean, oh, and I forgot to say at the very beginning, does that loft look familiar? She calls Storm to try to talk to her about this. I can't believe I almost forgot. This is like in this issue, and she doesn't answer because she just was hoping, to be able to talk to someone that understands about this situation. Because of course the X-Men are the only mutants that she knows, presently. So she just wanted to talk, and I'm sure she's like, I'm sure they're off saving the world or something, just, wanted to be able to talk to someone who knows what I'm going through. So unfortunately, Storm wasn't there. So anyway, um, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you join me for future videos. I mean, we're at 35, there's only 42, so uh, not very many left. And so we'll see what happens now that she's been revealed to be a mutant. Until next time, bye.